Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is Jaylee's Corner. I am, of course, Jaylee, and this is my review for Snowfall, which is on FX, and this is season one, episode 5. And yes, so of course, y'all know this is one of my favorite shows, but first things first, if you have not done so already, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. You just hit the little subscribe button, and all it does, proper English, is let you know when I have another video up, another review. It does not cost you anything. It is totally free. Um, you can, yes, I'm fixing the camera. You can also subscribe. Why am I all thrown off today? You can also share my videos, like my videos, and there's a comment section at the bottom where you can throw your comments in. The only rule to the comment section is please be respectful to me and also to anyone else who is commenting. Okay, sorry. This is my best friend's song that I always have playing when I'm starting off my videos because I like my best friend's music. Hey, yeah. And of course, if you want the song or like the song, the details will be in the bottom. Well, it'll be under the details section. So yeah. But let's get started on this episode. Snowfall for me, I'm pulling up my notes. Snowfall for me is a good show, but I still feel like Franklin's story is more of the main story and what is more interesting. Teddy's whole story, Gustavov, Lucia, and Pedro, their story is like, I just wish it was something different. And it's just weird. I'm tired of looking down. It's just weird only because it's like Franklin's story is so, I don't know, it's just better for some reason. So, I don't know. So of course I'm gonna tell this in different parts. I'm gonna go with Teddy, Gustavo, Lucia, Pedro, and then Franklin. I like to share Franklin at the end. Well, and plus the episode started off with Teddy and Alejandro. So we do see the beginning of it with Teddy and Alejandro. And Teddy like walking around this desert. We see it's a plane. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And Teddy kind of talking to himself. We see that the plane isn't working, and Teddy's talking about, he's talking to himself. We see Alejandro is kind of laid out on the ground, and his head is bandaged up, and he was bleeding and things like that. And yes, my bun is very, very messy today. Don't judge me. And Teddy's talking to Alejandro as if he's conscious, and he's like, you've been lying to me this whole time, so of course I wouldn't believe that, something wasn't going to be up at Hawthorne. Of course we couldn't land at Hawthorne. I know it was my idea to land here. I know that was my fault. And I'm like, is Teddy going crazy? Like, Teddy, you on them drugs? Because I'm just like, what? But you know how they say when a person is in a situation and if they are by themselves for so long, eventually they start to get unhinged and they start talking to themselves. So Teddy was just talking to Alejandro as if Alejandro was conscious, and he was unconscious. And he's like, you gave me no choice. So I'm like, did Teddy like beat up Alejandro some kind of way, and that's why his head is all banged up? And we kind of see Teddy also like trying to fix the plane a little bit. So he's like, it's my fault that we're here. So I'm like, okay, he must have made Alejandro land somewhere else. The wheel on the plane must have been broken, and that's why he's fixing it. And they must have crashed or something. But it was still kind of like, what the fuck is going on? So, later on we see Teddy, each scene with Teddy is talking to himself slash Alejandro. And, he had Alejandro outside of the plane, with the, like the parachute fabric covering him because they're in the desert, so it's a lot of heat, it's a lot of sun. So that's like their protection for everything. And as he's talking to Alejandro, it flies away. And he's like, shit. So he's chasing it, trying to catch it, and it kind of gets away a little bit. Then the water that he was trying to save, for them to have to drink is spilling out, so that's pissing him off. And we see that he has to get Alejandro in the plane because he can't be sitting out in the sun because he'll probably die from the sun. We see that he tries to start waking Alejandro up by hitting him and slapping him in the face. Like, wake up. wake up, because he needs Alejandro woke so that Alejandro can fly the plane because Teddy can't fly a plane. Um, we see that he tries to start the plane when he sees, they desperately need to get out of where they are. They have no water. It's a lot of sun. They have no shade, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So at one point, we see Teddy is sitting outside the plane, and he's still talking to himself slash Alejandro. And Alejandro was like waking up, but he waking up as if he having a stroke. So I'm confused. Like, I mean, is he waking up as if he can't talk and he finna die? Like, what's going on here? It was, that part was weird as well. Um, Alejandro finally wakes up, and he's drinking a lot of water, trying to replenish his, stuff from dehydration. And he just says, Teddy's walking around like, yeah, you know, we shouldn't have landed here in the first place, which is kind of his way of basically saying sorry to Alejandro. And he's like, they like, let's go. When they're on the plane, Teddy gives Alejandro the picture of his family that Alejandro's wife asked Teddy in the last episode to give to him. And it seemed like Alejandro like balled it up because he took it with his hand like this, and I swore I heard it ball up, but I'm not sure. And then Teddy's like, let me ask you this one more time. Are we going to be all good when we get to Hawthorne? And Alejandro's like, if we're backed by the CIA, it shouldn't matter if we're good or not because we're backed by the CIA. And that was a whole scene. Again, where's Franklin? I mean, John Singleton. I'm wondering, does he have multiple writers working on each story piece? Because I'm like, we ain't need that scene. Like that was a waste of next. Okay, next. So next we have Gustavo Lucia, and they're at the little warehouse place or the room or wherever they be at in his house. And they're talking about how they're having trouble selling all the cocaine, and how Lucia's little college roommate friend girls couldn't sell all the drugs that they thought they could, and they're hoping that because it's the 4th of July weekend, they can kind of make up for that, because I guess in California back in the 80s, everybody got high on cocaine for holidays. I don't know. I don't know cocaine. So Lucia's asking Gustavo if he has any plans for the holiday. He's like, "Oh yeah, I do, whatever." But come to find out, he does not. Next scene, we see Pedro, who was Lucia's cousin, the guy, come get Gustavo to bring him to their family's 4th of July party. Once they get there, Lucia is upset that Pedro brought Gustavo because she's like, "What the fuck you trying to do? Put a noose around our neck? Why would you want him closer to your dad? That's crazy." And her cousin's like, keep that fake smile up. I'm my father's only son. Even if he did find out what happened, he not gonna murder me because I'm his only son. Meaning he ain't gonna kill me, he gonna kill y'all. So I have to keep him here close because if shit hits the fan, I ain't gonna be the one to die. Y'all gonna be the one to die. And we see that Lucia is probably more of the brains, and she's probably more of the one to be scared of, so to speak. I have a feeling Pedro is just the son of a cartel member, and he's not really, about that life. That's just my personal opinion about him. So the dad and uncle are talking to Gustavo. This is basically running it down like, we need someone to run our drugs and things like that. So he's basically going to be a drug runner. And he's like, okay, sure, I'm good with that. And they're like, basically, what else do you want besides money? And he's like, I just want work and respect. And he's like, eventually you're gonna want power. And the longer that you work with us, the more power you'll get. But if you cross us, we'll fucking kill you, basically. And Gusto was like, okay, I get it, yes sir, in his Spanish little voice and everything, Spanish accent, Spanish language. Sorry. And so it's that whole scene. They do show Pedro talking to his dad, and his dad asking Pedro, can I trust this Gustavo guy? I see that he's trying to talk to Lucia. He must have balls for that. And Pedro called him a bear. This time he called him an ape, basically saying he's just, muscle. He's just a stupid animal, basically. And his father's like, don't underestimate him. He has her ear, because he's looking and he's seeing that Alejandro, that Lucia and Gustavo has some kind of connection, conversation, and Gustavo's closer to Lucia than her own cousin is. And, Pedro's kind of just looking on or whatever. Gustavo and Lucia were having a conversation at the same time, and Gustavo is playing his cards. He's like, look, I want to be an equal partner. And she's like, what? And he's like, I've already killed two people. He has. He's killed two people for them. He's like, I basically followed you, and, I'm in this. So either I want to be equal, or you can see how far you'll get with your dumbass cousin, you know what I'm saying, and his crazy father. Because basically, the father and Pedro are lunatics, as Gustavo said at one point. And so he's telling her, your choice is either to bring me in, or I'm out totally, and you can deal with them. And she know that she can't, deal with them on her own. So she's like, Pedro won't be upset. Pedro's going to be upset. And he was like, I don't give a shit. Okay, Gustavo, speak that language, boy. So again, I mean, that story was a little bit interesting, but they broke it up into different scenes, and it was like, I need that part of the story to get better. But, here got my boo boo Franklin. So we see Franklin at his house, and he's, at the table, and his mom comes in, and they're talking and everything, and he pulls out an old photo he found of his father. And he's like, I barely recognize him, because as we know, his father is on drugs and things like that, or alcoholic, or drunk, or whatever. And his mom was like, well, yeah, I wasn't hiding the picture. I just forgot that it was put up. And, she admits that she took the picture of the dad, back in the day. And he like, oh, mom, this is a cool picture. Have you ever thought about picking the camera back up and, doing photos? And she's like, photos don't pay the bills. That's not how, that's not how things work in this life. And then she's like, and neither is that fake ass sick shit you've been talking about. He had been faking sick, saying that's why he wasn't going to work. But in actuality, he wasn't working there anymore. So he admits to his mom, like, yeah, I quit my job. And she's like, okay, that's fine, but you have to go to work. Like, you don't have to go back to work at that store, but you have to do something, because I refuse to let you sit by and be idle. And she's like, I've already seen that go bad. Meaning, I'm guessing his father probably didn't have much going on, and that's why his father maybe got on drugs and became alcoholic. But as people know, some people can't sit around and be idle, because it gets them into bullshit. And that's not what she wants for him. So we have that whole scene. And the next scene we see is, Franklin's like walking around, and he's talking to someone. And then the next part, we see a woman with a black eye, mind you, at a police station yelling about, he didn't do it. I actually started the fight. It was me. And I'm like, okay, this is just a story of a woman who got beat up by her boyfriend, and he got arrested, and she don't want to press charges, and she like, here, you want my money? So she's dropping her money and change into the police little thing to get him out or whatnot, because I gotta go to work. He gotta go to work. I don't know why y'all getting involved in my personal life anyway. And I'm like, what the fuck? Is this another character they bringing into? And then as they pan away and she goes sit down, we see Franklin sitting there. And, Franklin kind of stands up, and as he looks across the room, we see his father coming out of, like, lockup. So I'm like, oh, Franklin then bailed his daddy out of jail. Now, I was confused, like, how did he even know his daddy was in jail? But I'm guessing because, one, he saw his father that night, walking down the street. So then he probably went looking for his father after he saw the picture of his dad back in the day. Probably got him interested in some things. And he found out his father was arrested, and he went to get him out of jail. So, yeah. The next scene within that is they're at a house party, or at Jerome's house for a 4th of July party. And his mama, Franklin's mama, she being all hot in the ass. She barbecuing, her auntie, what I'm saying, laughing and stuff. And Mama Franklin dancing and stuff, and got a little man looking at her from across the room, and she bending over and shimmying and all this. I'm like, go ahead, Mama Franklin, get your groove back home, girl. And, she's laughing or whatever. And as she's laughing, she looks up, and we see someone walking up. And it's Franklin's drunk ass daddy. He ain't drunk, but he's a drunk. And she's pissed. And she, walked off the porch to get to him. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And he's like, calm down, why you all up in my face? And she's like, why is you here? I mean, she's pissed off that he's even there. And, she's just not happy about it. And, he's like, look, I just need a moment with Franklin. She's like, no. She's like, well, okay, mama, damn, a half a minute. I just want to thank him for, getting me out of jail. And mom is shocked because, of course, she didn't know. And so she looked at Franklin, and Franklin like, okay, yeah, I did it, mama. And she's like, if you're going to be here, you got to be clean. Now, in my mind, I'm like, if he high, he can't get clean that fast. But no, she meant like clean, clean your body. You stink, you smell like jail or piss or outside or something. So go smell nice. And we see that he go in and he's taking a shower and stuff because we see Franklin like getting him some fresh clothes, from his Uncle Jerome basically. And his mama come in like, oh, so the picture wasn't good enough? You had to go drag his old drunk ass up in here. And, Franklin, like, he came on his own, meaning he didn't ask his dad to come, but he did bail him out of jail, and his father basically came looking to see probably why he bailed him out. And as they're talking, she's asking him, well, how do you even get the money to get him out of jail? He like, well, I've been saving. And how much does it cost? A couple $100. Oh, you had a couple $100, after you quit your job? And of course, she's trying to figure out what he got going on. And he like, I've been saving. And then she kind of gets serious, like, I can't do this again. You know how it starts. Meaning, sometimes you have a person who is on drugs or alcohol, they start off cool and everything can be calm and you can chill with them, but eventually they fuck up in some sort of way, or you get your hopes up and they leave. That's typically how it happens sometimes. And he's like, but you already let him be here. And she's like, look, he got an hour tops. After that, his ass gotta go. And and he like, well, you letting him be here, so what you getting mad for? And she like, don't get it twisted. This is a little ounce of, of kindness, But that no, she said, but that no good ass nigga is just a hobo to me. Meaning, yes, that's your daddy, and yes, that's my ex, and I'm being nice by allowing him to be here, but he still ain't shit to me. Like, he's still an old drunk, and it's that whole thing. We next see Franklin and Leon having a conversation, and Leon is trying to get Franklin to include a third person in their failed drug business, and Leon and Franklin kind of isn't having it. He's like, nah, as far as I'm concerned, it's already one person too many that know what went on, and I'm not trying to have anybody else in my business. And Leon's like, well, it's too late for that, bro. You know what I'm saying? You already have two people trying to rob you, so it ain't like what you doing ain't already in the streets. He then brings up that one of Carvel's, the ass raper, one of his boys got killed the night before. And Franklin's like, man, I'm not going to worry about that because we don't know what happened. People get, basically, what he basically said is, people get killed every day, B. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he's like, so until I know the details, I ain't worried about it. So it's Leon and Franklin trying to have a conversation. His dad walk up like, hey, can I talk to you real quick? And he's all nice and clean and everything. And Franklin comes down to talk to him. And he asked Franklin like, okay. No, Franklin like, what you want? He like, what I want? I'm trying to figure out what you want. You the one came looking for me and got me out of jail. So, you must want something. And then Franklin's like, well, no, you know what? Just forget that I did that. Just forget that I even bailed you out. Don't worry about it. And his dad's like, no, you might as well get your money's worth. And he's like, I can pay you back. Because he said, well, I was looking for you and I asked one of your friends who made me pay him $20 to tell me. He's like, well, I can give you back the 20, but I can't get you back the bail money. That's a little bit too much money for me. He like, you know what, don't worry about it. And his dad's like, well, let's talk. Well, I ain't got nothing to say. He like, well, I see that you was kind of talking to your uncle a little bit earlier. We want to talk about that. And he's like, I ain't here to judge you or nothing. But, and as they talking, Franklin like, man, whatever, don't worry about it. And then he like, well, how did you get that scar on your forehead? Well, it was from work. And he like, you working at the store or from you selling drugs with your uncle? He like, man, look, I don't know if he was about to say sorry, but Franklin kind of cut him off and was like, man, shut the fuck up. He like, shut the fuck up. Fuck you mean, shut the fuck up? He like, yeah, man, shut the fuck up. They be cussing on FX, like, just, like, wow. But anyway, So they're arguing, and I think Franklin thought his father was trying to apologize. And he's like, I don't want to hear about your motherfucking sorries and, how you wish things were different. And he's like, sorry? Why would I be sorry? You know, all I've ever wanted to be and all I've ever tried to do was be my own man. And he's like, Franklin said, you're not a man. And his dad like, oh, I ain't a man. Oh, and you would know. Meaning you still a kid. You have no idea what I've been through as a man to get me to where I am now. Even though I'm an alcoholic, drug addict, or whatever his father may be, I still probably he's insinuating that he's went through whatever, and Franklin has no idea of his demons or whatever has gone on. And he's like, you don't have a motherfucking clue. If you had a clue, you wouldn't have came looking for me. And as they have this little face off, we hear fireworks going off because Jerome crazy ass up on the roof lighting got dang on fireworks. So it's that whole thing that stops their conversation. So from there, the next scene, they outside partying and Jerome like, yeah, I would like some fireworks, but with the whole fire on my roof type thing. So we then see the police pulling up because someone called the police and reported shots fired. Not sure why, not sure how, but they did. And as they pull up, they like, who house is this? So Jerome like, this is my house. Now of course it's a whole bunch of people out on the lawn. They partying. It's the 4th of July. They smoking. They drinking. There's all kind of stuff. And Jerome like, this is my house. What the fuck you want? And his sister, Franklin's mom comes up like, what's the problem, officers? And they talking to her, and they like, we had reports of shots fired. And she's like, nope, it was just fireworks. We do that we have this every year. It's the 4th of July. It's a holiday. And she's being real nice and civilized. And they're like, oh, y'all partying too with open looking containers and marijuana. And she's like, officers, we ain't trying to, do nothing crazy. It's the holiday. We all trying to party. And Franklin, old crazy ass, out the back from the bleachers, yell out, won't you check these nuts? Now, Franklin, you just were too scared to kill Carvel. You let old boy get ass raped, and now you want to jump back at the cops. Franklin, you're my favorite character. I'm going to need you to calm down, little moccasin. Calm it on down. So his mom like, Franklin, because she trying to be the mediator between all these drunk black people and these white cops in California in the 80s. She trying to keep the peace. And, the cops are trying to get through the crowd little by little. They're walking up and she's saying, hold on, officers. And they're like, nah. She's like, hold on, officers. I don't want y'all to take no more steps until we can have a civilized conversation. They push her right out the way and go right for Franklin. Yank his ass up, and the one cop is literally choking his ass out. Because what did Franklin say? Check these nuts. And the cop is pissed. So the cop choking him out. His mama screaming, get off my baby. You hear everybody yelling, he can't breathe, he can't breathe. You hear Franklin, trying to catch his breath because he can't breathe because he's being choked out. You have the other cop, his partner, pull out his gun. He point his gun at Frank like, I'll blow his head off. I'm like, Art, what the fuck going on, officer? I mean, it was just, but I'm like, that's what happened. Things get out of control. And you hear another squad car pull up, and a black officer pulls up, and he runs up and he separates the white officer from Franklin and gets him off of Franklin so Franklin can breathe. And as we see, this black cop knows Franklin. He knows, because he says Franklin's name, he also says the girl Melody name, and Melody is the girl that Franklin kind of be talking to and things like that. And Franklin is being held by his mom now. He's just trying to breathe because he was being choked the fuck out. It was fucking bananas. And the black cop is saying to the white cop, like, what the fuck wrong with you? Why would you do that? That's crazy. Uncle Jerome pissed off because the black cop trying to help Franklin, like, get the fuck off my nephew. Now, I didn't know if the black cop was someone they knew and they are upset that he's the cop. I didn't know if he was just upset because it was a cop in general. Because my thing is, he still came and got the white cops off Franklin, so why you really mad at him, Uncle Jerome? But I'm like, they all drunk, so who knows? And even when the cop, like, Melody? So I'm like, is the cop her father. I'm trying to figure out who this black cop is that know Franklin and Melody. I can't place where he from. I couldn't. And as this is happening, Franklin's father is slowly backing up, walking away. As the cops pull up, he kind of get out. You see him walking off the porch. As Franklin say, check these nuts. You see him walking off the porch. So as the whole scene is playing out, there's glimpses of his father slowly and quietly backing away from the situation. Not really coming to the aid of his son like his mom is. Like Franklin's mom is concerned about her child. But not the daddy. The daddy is slowly like, bye Franklin. By Franklin. And by the end, when Franklin is being held by his mom and he's trying to breathe, his father is now across the street walking away. Like, didn't say bye. I mean, he did at least make sure that his son didn't get shot or killed or whatever. He see that his son is, mainly okay. But he still left. Damn, Daddy? Really? But, again, as his mom said, you know how it would go. This is what he does. He comes and he goes as he pleases. So yeah. Next thing they're back to partying. I guess Franklin getting choked out and the cops coming, don't stop no goddamn gonna party. No, it don't, because they partying and bullshitting and just, trying to get down and boogie or whatever. And, we see Franklin and his mom sit on the porch and he's drinking or eating ice because his throat is sore. And you hear his voice is very raspy. It's a different voice because of him being choked out. And, he's talking to his mom and he's like, I'm okay. How are you, Mom? And she's like, I'm okay too. She then asked him if his father said bye, and of course he didn't. And they sit on the porch and she's like, you know what? I just want to sit here and enjoy this. Because all the fireworks are going off because it's the 4th of July. And again, it's just him and his mama sitting together, having quality time. The same way when after he got robbed and stuff, he went to his mama, sat with his mama, and was watching TV. At the end of the day, all most black men need is to sit with their mama, I'm guessing is what they're trying to say. So the last scene of the episode is Franklin sitting on top of the roof with Leon and their other friend whose name I can't remember. Franklin went in his new raspy voice because he got choked out. His throat is sore. He's like, can you get your aunt's car tomorrow? And he like, well, why? And he like, well, because we can't catch the bus to Javi's house. Franklin back to selling them drugs. Yeah, I can't say yes because you don't want to promote people selling drugs. But, that's what he trying to go do. He like, because my mama telling me I got to make some money. I don't want to go back to working at a store. And I don't want my mama having to deal with all this bullshit that we having to deal with. And I guess he like the way I was able to make a lot of money was sell drugs. But he's being at least smarter this time, so to speak, where he's not trying to do it on his own. Franklin's problem the first time was he tried to do it on his own, literally. You can't really be a successful drug dealer without people to watch your back. And that was why he got jumped and robbed the first time, was because no one else was watching out for him. It was just him. So this time what he's trying to do is he's like, I'm going to have Leon and my other friend whose name I can't remember, but he was also in that first episode. And with us three doing this, I think, it won't be as bad as it was before. Plus, they didn't kill the ass raping Carvel, so, what else can they run into? It's going to be a lot, though. So, that was my review of Snowfall Season 1, Episode 5. It was, again, another good episode. The previews for the next episode do show that they did end up getting some drugs from Javi because they counting up some stuff. It also shows Teddy and Alejandro having different conversations for stuff. So I am excited to see the next episode. If you have not done so already, you can please subscribe to my channel. You can also share this video, like this video. So any comments you have at the bottom, but please remember to be respectful. I am Jay Lee. This is Jay Lee's Corner. And until next time, which will actually be in about a half an hour when I do the Growing Up Hip Hop review and post it. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. Peace.